I've been working on a whole bunch of stuff. I got hacked over the weekend. I have no idea who did it. They stole a bunch of source code. I mean, a bunch. Approximately 200,000 lines of code, and it was deleted. They took it and deleted it. Um, there's no way for me to resolve it. I mean, I have backups, obviously, because I'm not new to this, but there's no way to resolve that this is me being targeted. This is a consistent pattern of myself being targeted by apparently Chinese because I'm finding my software, my intellectual property, and my my math work showing up in PhD programs. So it's either the Chinese taking it or the U.S. government's taking it and handing it to the Chinese PhD students, which that's even scarier. But this is the Mapleseed Incorporated, all rights reserved. All content, materials, and information produced by the Mapleseed Incorporated are exclusive property of the Mapleseed Incorporated, unless otherwise explicitly stated. Any request for use of such proprietary information must be submitted at least 24 hours prior to the intended utilization. So I'll probably say yes anyways. The information contained within this document is presented solely as personal perspective and professional opinion. It should not be interpreted as legal fact, official position, or binding representation of the Mapleseed Incorporated or its affiliates or my sub-affiliates. The views expressed herein are those of the individual contributor, myself, and do not necessarily reflect the opinions, policies, and positions of the Mapleseed Incorporated itself. This disclaimer does not limit or modify any rights or obligations that may otherwise be applicable under applicable laws or regulations. If I say something that's illegal, I expect somebody to correct me. The Mapleseed Incorporated makes no representations of warranties of any kind, express or implied, regarding the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of the information provided, particularly because the information I'm going from is what other people provide to me on the internet. And a lot of people lie. They lie a lot, as we've learned. Something about pictures and charters and aircraft flying to islands. That's a really small island for such a rather large airplane. For official inquiries regarding the use of proprietary information, please contact me down there. I will have some other stuff later. I have a phone number and all this stuff. It's basically a dead drop box. If you have anything that you'd like me to cover, feel free to comment down below and I'll go into depth from my personal and professional perspective. I'm going to start on something that most people are really tired of. St. Nicholas, Santa is St. Nicholas, okay? He's a saint, patron saint. What he used to do is go around and give kids gifts, usually the poor, needy orphan children. Why are the Vikings attacking Santa? Why? Why? You can't let the poor, helpless, homeless kids and kids with nothing have anything? The Vikings need to be checked. First off, now that that's out of the way, I want to have this discussion about Denmark and Greenland. Greenway. Good Lord, not Greenway, the company. Greenland, the country, or the continent. Big island. Technically, it's an island. So President Trump I am pleased to announce that I am appointing the great governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry, as the United States Special Envoy to Greenland. Jeff understands how essential Greenland is to our national security and will strongly advance our country's interests for the safety, security, and survival of our allies and indeed the world. Congratulations, Jeff. For any that aren't aware, we have a military installation there as well as a database. It has nothing to do with rare earths. The military installation there is an air base, and it has some weapons of some small scale, if you understand what that means. And that's the only reason they want to have Greenland. It's not because Donald Trump's a crazy maniac. He might be, but no, it's most likely because Greenland has resources, particularly in airfield, which helps a lot if we ever get into a conflict with someone like Russia. Oh, here's one right up my alley. Rather brilliantly evil: the life of Fastlane with Robinhood Markets. I was a long-time user of Robinhood. I was an invite on the beta test. I was a beta user of Robinhood, and I was also a beta tester of the crypto wallet of Robinhood. They had two eras where they were involved in crypto. One was the 2011, 2012, the 2013 era, and the other one was the after Litecoin blew up to 100 something dollars, and after that. Um, I was involved in both, so you can understand I have some connection to Robinhood. I am not a fan of Robinhood. They asset forfeited my assets more than once, 5 times total. More than $1 billion was taken from my accounts. There's nothing I can do. They rehypothecated my accounts more than $1 billion of assets today. If we go and look in 2025, the assets are worth $1.1 billion what they took out of my account. And I'm not a trader, like a day trader. I buy something and I hold on to it forever. Like I bought Bitcoins a long time ago and I held on to them. Like I still have them. Like I haven't moved them. I don't keep them on me. I don't keep them locally because thieves are a thing. But we're gonna go into this now that I got that out of the way, so the drama with Robinhood can be cleared up. Robinhood was founded in 2013, but really burst onto the scene in 2020. And I don't know about all that. Changing the face of retail brokerage industry after a near-death experience in 2021 with the infamous, GameStop episode. If you don't know, Robinhood is not technically a retail brokerage industry. They're a notional brokerage. So when you purchase something from them, you don't technically own it. They add it to their pool of assets from their backer, which is, you know, Citadel, Citadel Financial. Citadel Financial owns all the assets. Robinhood just has it on lien. Like they lean against it, and Citadel gets a kickback and all this other stuff. Nobody actually owns any of these assets and anything. And I'm one of the people who actually communicated with some of the shareholders, the owners of the companies that I was ownership in, including like Sprott Metals, Sprott Silver. I had PSLV. I had voting rights. I ended up getting this thick packet in the mail, and that's what happened. Robinhood is a pusher in plain sight. The dopamine is the drug it peddles. It rounds up retail non-professional traders and matches them with the best and fastest traders in the world, not even close, and gets paid handsomely to do it. Tiniv continually demands he's democratizing investing. Not really. But his customers are, in fact, profitable libraries. Their order flow is sold to the professional trading firms and study. Yep. Training AI models off the trading data. Building AI models off of it. Be aware of that. The chief executive of Robinhood took the stage on the online brokers annual summit in Las Vegas this fall, decked out in a race car's jumpsuit and customized Nikes. Yeah, that's classy. It's real classy. Leverage. Here's a simple example. Back in 2021, when stocks were on a huge bull run. I was doing some programming earlier and using bull run, especially the big technology stocks like Google, Robinhood traders used options to get leverage. Leverage means using a smaller amount of your own money to control a much larger position exposure in the market, essentially amplifying both potential gains and losses. Um, that's not what this means. You didn't trade options to get leverage. I remember when Zero Hedge was actually a financial page, and the guys actually knew what they were talking about. But not everybody can know everything, right? NVIDIA prepares to ship H200 AI chips to China by mid-February. The reason why they're letting these H200 chips go is because I don't know if you're aware, H200 chip is a chip that was laid out and taped out in 2018. It's old. The fabrication process didn't exist at that point, and they couldn't get the yields up on the ones that they tried yielding it on. Rather than once the process which they chose to produce it in. So it's an older chip. It is it's their current standard because their yield problem was so bad for so long, and finally when they got their yield under control, it changed. The H300, H350 is already laid out from what I understand. Whether or not it's been taped out or it's been verified, I have no idea. If you don't know anything about the tech industry, you can go look those terms up, or I could give you a brief, very brief pre-runner on this. By the way, it's copyrights for 2025. If you haven't noticed, because that's what year it is still, for another few days. Basically, tape out means they run a simulation, create the actual visible layers, model it out, and then simulate it. And then some really high paid electrical engineer sits there and does some math calculations, enters it in a computer like this. And then when he's done, hopefully it's a working processor or logic unit or whatever it is they're producing. Oh, wow. Judge greenlights Secret Service's agents retaliation case. I'm not in law enforcement, but it's wild sometimes to see what goes on in law enforcement circles. And you know, I've had some interactions with corrupt law enforcement before. Not going to mention any names, but I can't, I can't, I can't understand how it must feel to work next to somebody that's corrupt when you're just trying to do the right thing. I can't imagine how that feels. I've dealt with people who do a lot of stealing and lying before in the employment situation that I had, and it was very bad. I didn't enjoy it. Did not enjoy it at all. It was very unpleasant. I see there's nobody in my chat, and I can't join my own chat. Here, I joined my own chat. I don't expect anyone to be in my chat at 3:40 a.m. By the way, the stream is going to go for a long time because I've got nothing else going on. Maduro must go. What a mess. Yeah, the drug cartels do not like competition, Maduro. They do not like competition. And everybody likes to think the drug cartels are in foreign countries. My experience is that they're not, but your marriage may vary, and me being old, because some people said I was too old to do anything. 45 years old, and somebody said I was too old to do anything realistic, and I thought that was offensive. So I'm looking up some other stuff right now, trying to get this working. Yeah, apparently Syrian prisons are torturing people again. That's wild. Malicious actors impersonating senior U.S. officials, FBI warns. Careful out there, you never know who you're speaking to. If you do a lot of traveling, you have to be really careful. From what I've learned, the FBI generally doesn't introduce itself unless you're in trouble. My personal experience, they even if they know who you are and they say hi to you, they don't introduce themselves as the FBI because they're not in trouble. It's part of their training to not do so. They're not supposed to be giving away that they're an FBI agent, which is why they have a dress code. They have what they call it this professional standard dress code. They have to wear a suit and a tie. And it has to be a suit within a certain cost ratio. It's not that they can't afford nice suits. It's that they just buy cheap suits. It's they're told to buy a suit within a certain price range, so they don't appear to be they appear to be like a nobody. I'm not saying they are nobodies, but it's part of their thing is they're supposed to appear like they're nobody. Unlike the IBM guys who wore tuxedo suits, which I think they should bring that back. I would love to see IBM bring that back, the tuxedo suit. That'd be fantastic. Not fantastic the way you probably believe. Oh, look at that. I have an email. Nope. There we go. Finally. It took like 20 minutes for my email to get going. Rather log back in and have it update. Oh, for those of you who aren't aware, I'm pretty sure that's criminal harassment. I'm not exactly certain who that person is, but that sounds like criminal harassment. Yeah. What were we talking about? Nobody's got a subject. Okay, there's nobody here. Oh, I said hi to myself. Look at that. I am so boring, and it's too late. Yeah, that is definitely a win. That is definitely a win on my part. Non-U.S. citizens more likely to have devices checked. Tourists heading to the United States could soon have to disclose the past 5 years of social media activities to authorities during the EST process. When providing such information was previously only mandatory for longer-term visas, U.S. Customs and Border Protection have now submitted a new regulatory proposal to make it an essential part of the short-term tourists and business travels applications as well. I'm fixing Tyler Durden's English here. The move should be a part of a wider package of data collection measures which authorities say are necessary for security reasons. The decision is not yet legally binding, but could start to come into force in February. You guys really have to stop using AI models to do your writing. I do believe this entire website is automated now, which is absolutely terrible. Wow. Let's go find something else to look at. What other news is there? Oh yeah, Trump announced a new class of U.S. battleships named after himself. I'm telling you, man, the ego on this guy. Ego on this guy. Trump class battleships. The forthcoming vessel dubbed the USS Defiant. Apparently, he's watched Star Trek. Oh, he did it from Mar-a-Lago. Hundred times the power. Hmm. Wonder, I wonder if they're going to be using the Mark 45 16-inch guns from the Iowas because it doesn't look like they have any different guns in there. They're using rail guns. That's terrible. Those rail guns, they burn out too quickly. Senator Chuck Schumer says he's introduced a resolution to force DOJ into full release of Epstein files. Our country's political process has turned into a pop culture thing. I'm done with that. So Visa says AI will start shopping and paying for you in 2026. Um, no, thank you. I think I can do my own shopping. Instacart kills AI pricing tests that charged some customers more than others. Wow, that seems. I mean, it's not illegal, but that seems. It seems wild. I don't know how to express my my initial impression of that is what you were doing. What? How are you still in business? How have you not been sued? Seems like a class action right there for anybody that was unfairly charged more for something. I believe they were charging people more for living in an area that was less conducive to safe driving and stuff like that of that nature, like driving through the hood. Excuse me, I had to get a bit of coffee there. Linux desktop doesn't need anything to challenge Windows. Windows is terrible. I'm using Windows on my new device now. It is absolutely abysmal. It is the worst OS I've ever used. As far as Linus Torvalds and too many desktops, it's not that you have too many desktops. Say you have too many old desktops that serve no purpose anymore. The entire ecosphere of Linux needs to trim down on some of the X11 belongs on servers. Everything else belongs on the other stuff. There should be two releases: a server release, which you could do with X11, and then you have everything else should be Vulkan or what's the other one? Hyperland or whatever that is. Otherwise, there's no point. X11 doesn't make any sense on the modern one. I'm not a fan of GNU at all, to be honest. I don't like GCC. I don't like the fact that it doesn't have C23 as a standards compliant. C23 is the current standard for C languages LLVM. However, GCC does not comply with it directly or in any kind of instantiation. So it means the code that you're writing for, on Linux, unless you're using LLVM implicitly, is not going to be compliant with C23 standards at all, and because GCC is not fully C23 compliant. That's what most people are using, and it's the GNU compiler, which is why I'm not a fan of GNU, because but like Robert Stallman, always fail to uphold the standards. The only standards they kept were the POSIX standards, not the not the every other standard, and barely that. Yes, I have a little bit of experience in the sector, just a little bit. Linux Mint refuses to use Snap because Canonical has too much control over the Snap store. That's a fair argument. They don't want to deal with Canonical, and I'm not certain if Canonical leases out their infrastructure for it, so Linux Mint could do branding. I knew Linux Mint was having trouble. I just switched over to SUSE because I've never used it. I'm just looking at news on Slashdot. I don't know if you know what that is. We're going to cover this, and then we're going to step into my future plans. My most, yeah, this whole, okay, Elon Musk just recently released a video of, what is that, Optimus, the robot, doing a dance and removing its own battery. Not real. It's a CGI. It's a nice simulation. He wants the robots to be able to do the dance and thing and all that other stuff because it's not that I don't think that he could do something like that. I don't think he could get his robots that far advanced that fast. It's that it's just not real. It's just not real. I could plainly see it. I don't know. Maybe it's you. I've been around CGI so long and I've seen the real life so long that I can differentiate between the two. It's not real. There's no way. It's not real. Um, Most of these highly articulated robots are not real because the joints, these joints are not, they're, I don't know how to explain. There's a few different types of joints and none of them are very fast. There are, let's just go look it up real quick. I'll just ask this LLM over here. We'll go through a list. Name all the rotary joint motors used in modern robotics. Maybe that'll give me a decent answer. Oh yeah, FCC bans foreign-made drones over national security spying concerns. It's about time. It's really about time. Okay, rotary joint motors used in modern robotics. We have servo motors, stepper motors, specialized, which include coreless, planetary gear, harmonic drives, and cyclotic drives. Cycloidic. Advanced actuator, which are more advanced stuff for like CNC stuff. We have magnetic levitation motors, which soft robotic motors and bio-inspired motors. Those are more like amputee type stuff. In modern robotics, and if I remember correctly, he is using planetary gear motors and harmonic drive motors an optimist. I'm not 100% certain. Do believe that's what I was told. I mean, I know that's what I was told, but I do believe that that is accurate. That they're using planetary gear motors and harmonic drive motors, which means the accuracy and the speed of these motors really accurate, relatively accurate. Not very fast. They definitely are not very fast. They are not fast motors. They are used for precision stuff like welding, precision CNC machining, and stuff of that nature. Sometimes you see them in like 5 dimensional, even 4 dimensional, 4 dimensional and 5 dimensional and 6 degree of freedom printers and stuff like that to do FDM and stuff of that nature. Um, yeah, back to this FCC thing. There's a reason why I agree with this. If you've ever dealt with RF at all, eavesdropping can only be done a few ways. One of them is RF. The other is direct observation, which requires usually a tether line, like a wire. Like, usually you have to have something like this. Ethernet, this is a Cat7 cable tied into a piece of hardware inside the room, or you have to do some form of RF where you are able to, without projecting RF, receive RF. So you have an RF, some form of transmitter inside, and a receiver co-located somewhere else outside. And the reason why this is because you're trying to avoid detection. And if they find your transmitter, I mean, you're still going to get away. So it's not a real problem if you can get away still. You can't do direct observation, and that's why most spy equipment is RF instead of over lines. That's also another point I'd like to make is these devices are not secured. They are not secured whatsoever. And there's enough storage on a Bluetooth headset, such as this, within the firmware, to store malware that can do like a DHT style network, which is a distributed hash table. And what it means is it has a bunch of IP address stored as a hash table, and it can redirect a route. So when it connects to a Bluetooth device connected to the internet, it could go into automatic search mode and find a server somewhere, whether it be through Cloudflare or whatever, and somebody can do eavesdropping that way. It's why these shouldn't be anywhere in the government at all, and why the Bluetooth guys probably should find a way of creating some form of standard for it. But, I'm not in charge of any of these things because I'm just I'm nobody. I'm just nobody. I'm literally nobody. I'm just a nobody. Wild that wasn't there. That explains that. Did that stick? Yeah, okay. I was wondering what my tokens were sticking on that. Anyways, I'm doing something in the background over here on a machine learning model. It's an LLM. A power outage in Colorado caused U.S. official time to be 4.8 microseconds. Wow, okay. That's wild. I'm not going to get into this Twitch drama or YouTube drama. Um, I've been on YouTube forever. Like I said, I was in the beta, closed beta, and forever. Trump announced a new class of U.S. battleships. Yay! Again, another news agency. I don't get involved in this Israeli Gaza thing because I live in the United States and I'm 100% America first. Unequivocally America first. Look at that. Let's go over to the Boomer News, Fox News. Poor Walt under fires Minnesota mayor sound alarm on financial disaster. Probably because you laundered all that money with the Somalians. If I remember correctly, Tim Walz is a millionaire. He got wealthy and crashed his state. What is this? JD Vance went and hung out with some Navy SEALs and did a workout. That's wild. 90-minute workout. Oh, you did PT in the morning with them. Oh, they did some wild PT. They were climbing a Jacob's ladder and everything. Jacob's ladder is the rope netting. Telephone poles. That's wild. I've done some of that stuff before in my life, but that's wild. It's very painful. It hurts a lot afterwards if you've never done it before. It is. I definitely recommend if you've never done it before, go do an obstacle course. Here's more details on this FCC announces ban. Federal Communications Commission announced on Monday that it would ban new foreign-made drones, only new ones, citing national security concerns. FCC said it was adding uncrewed aircraft systems and their critical components made in China and other foreign countries to its covered list that features equipment that has been determined to pose an unacceptable risk to U.S. national security and the safety of Americans. Specific drones or components would be exempt of the Pentagon or Department of Homeland Security determined that they did not pose such risks. Um, wow, that's a lot of ums. I have a problem with DJI because I had some intellectual property stolen by them. If you don't know what it was they just released a new module for some of their drones. It's a gimbaled mapping system with a laser rangefinder built into it. And they use the laser. It's a FLIR system. It's a lidar. Sorry, a lidar with a FLIR system built into it that does basically 3D modeling and mapping on module on device. And yeah, intellectual property theft is it's a very annoying thing when you can never gain traction because of it. It's a very annoying thing to deal with. I am not opposed to them banning the FCC stuff, and it has nothing to do with the intellectual property thing. That is actually a legitimate threat. Um, another another it is a legitimate. I without going into too many details, it is a very legitimate threat. It's there are some messed up people here. A pastor, South Carolina pastor, charged with allegedly cyber stalking wife for years before her death. Well, I can empathize with her. I've dealt with something similar. Not to go into too much detail, but yeah, she kind of looks like Kristen Kruick. That is very not good. Pentagon tabs must XAI to boost sensitive government workflows, support military operations. I have seen how insecure and unsecure these models are. No, thank you. They are not secure. They are very dangerous. There is no way to secure them. None of these systems can be secured at the levels that they're expecting. I'd like to point out dropping interest rates means the tech industry is going to go into a recession. They're about to leverage up the debt ratio. Speaking of which, ChatGPT getting $100 billion. That is outrageous. He has yet to turn profit. I understand he's running a nonprofit, but what is he doing with all this money he's supposedly making? He isn't making any money. There's no money coming in. How are you expecting to get $100 billion? Put it in me hand. Put it in me hand. Sound like an Irish boy. Put it in me hand. Put it there. I could turn a profit with $100 billion. I can't understand why he can't turn a profit. I don't understand why he has yet to turn a profit. I know why, but I can't understand why he's not going to. He's probably never going to. It's probably never going to turn a profit. It's another boondoggle. It's like another Solandra or Enron, and I'm not joking. A lot of these companies are just, these AI firms are not. They're just not. They're just not. I have been involved with AI since Tilden. I think it was Tilden. Yep, it was Mark Tilden. Mark Tilden is a prominent researcher in the field of AI, biorobotics, and computational intelligence. Since his era, biorobotics. I don't want to go into being depressive about it. Somebody might think I'm being depressive about it. AI robotics. If you don't understand how his systems work, his works with like a dual op amp system where they did self-referential association with each other based on computational voltages and current. So thermal capacity and voltages as a comparison, like a comparator, but it was self-referential. And if you go and you examine the architecture of the modern GPT, the transformer models, it's the same architecture, it's the same system. All it does is have one model that looks at another model and they create a separate interaction in the center where they do this kind of referencing system. And there's another model that sits there and spits out the output of the two references. And they just do this big loop and it's self referential and they can correct each other and all this other stuff. That's It's the same thing. It's the same architecture. It's the same style system. The difference is the LLM's working with ones and zeros that are calculated into these tokens that get tossed around, and the model there for the biorobotics is just, something obviously a completely different animal. It's just doing something, and I don't know why. I really don't like it when my computer starts doing weird things. I don't know if it's you. Going back to General Freaks Out is Barry Weiss spiked 60 minutes segment on El Salvadorian prison. I'm not going to be involved in this public discussion anymore. These people have no interest of doing the right thing. This is all propaganda. We have a militant organization from Israel running around destroying the lives of anybody who doesn't comply with their demands. We have an Israeli guy that's on TV. We just saw a video of him on TV in public stating that a country like Indonesia has to comply with the demands of the UN and the United States in what we see, or rather, what he sees as reasonable demands, which is him dictating what they can teach their children. And I'm not on that street at all. I'm on the street where no, thank you, no. The answer is no. Um, I don't want to dictate to anyone else's children, or rather their parents, on what they need to teach their children. I'm a firm believer in homeschooling. This segmented, regimented Prussian style, you have to comply with the transing of your children stuff. No, thank you. You need to leave. You need to go. It's unacceptable. School choice is a thing. Even in Indonesia, where I don't, I don't know if they have a Prussian style educational system like the rest of the world does. Most of the world, not the rest of the world. Most of the world does. Um, but it's a big no-no. The reason why is self-explanatory. It really is just self-explanatory. There's no reason for a single individual, a single culture, or a single religion from a tiny little country that doesn't exist on its own to have authority over a country like Indonesia or the United States. It is also presumes the fact that he's demanding that we comply, you, them, me, everybody around us, comply with him wanting us to enforce UN guidance on educational materials in Indonesia, a Muslim country. He's saying that he doesn't want martyrs. This has nothing to do with martyrism, but the idea that a person from a foreign country is telling us that we have to comply with his edicts and demands, otherwise we are not in line with some kind of preconceived ideation of what the United States is in this person's mind, which is ridiculous. I'm not agreeing with this at all. Like, I'm not going to. Like, this is not acceptable. Like, I'm no thank you. I'm not going to get involved with them telling Indonesia Indonesia what to do. Okay, I'm not going to get involved with getting the UN to tell anybody what to do, because the UN is a terrible institution. And I find it ridiculous that a person who is 100% pro Israeli wants to leverage the power of the UN when it suits his feelings on what he believes to be Muslim extremism and martyrdom. And if you don't understand why this is a thing, and I don't want to be patronizing, even though it sounds like I am sounding very patronizing here. I understand that I sound patronizing. That's annoying. Turn that off. But it's not our place to tell them what to do. It's not our place. It just simply isn't. It's weird. Why does that keep doing that? Anyways, it's not our place to tell anybody how to educate their children. They're not our children. We don't have to feed them. We're not paying for them. And it's definitely not the UN's position. The UN is a terrible institution. If if we're going to go with having the UN being a leadership position, and their primary goal is to do what exactly? Because since the UN has been created, we've seen, a multiple multiple orders of magnitude increase in the conflict potential and the numbers of conflicts that we've seen since then. So this is not a principled approach by which we can examine the true conversation without understanding the full extent of the failure of the United Nations. And it goes back to the thing where the United Nations has been basically created to, that's wild. Basically, it was created to prevent wars by doing what they call military style police actions. Like originally, Korea was supposed to be a policing action. The force they put into Korea was too small, and they almost got ran over. We almost lost every single person. They got trapped in a little peninsula at the end, and we actually had to commit real forces to the Korean War in order to, forestall the death of Koreans as a result. And this led to a whole bunch of other problems. Goodbye. This led to a bunch of other problems, including Vietnam, where we ended up in this quagmire that dragged on for 11 years. It started way before we even got there. That conflict started with France because the UN told France that they had to monitor it because it used to be a French colony. And the UN told them you have to be directly and intrinsically involved in this. And the French at the time, they just got out of Vichy France. They were not armed. They did not have the capacity to fight any kind of real conflict of that nature. And what what ended up being the result of that is literally they got ran over. They just ran over, and they ran all over the country. And during their entire time there in Vietnam, which used to be part of CIM, they just the losses were phenomenal. Their armories were getting raided and everything else. So they just simply lost everything. And the United States took it over because the UN stepped in and said, "We need you to come over here and police this action." And it turned into a giant boondoggle, whatever. It just turned into an epic disaster. That's annoying. And that disaster ended up leaving 65,000 American troops dead and or missing, and collapsed our economy. And by collapsed our economy, we went from we were on Bretton Woods 2 to Nixon removing us from the gold standard and hyperinflation, which did not take long. Yeah, we hit a hyperinflationary scenario in 1977, and Carter fixed it with Volcker. And then it happened again right before the election, and there wasn't enough time to fix it, leading to what's his name getting elected. What is running in the background here? There's some guy with the Bluetooth that he's got this RF device in town, SCRF. He's been attacking me through Bluetooth for years. Really annoying. Follow me around, attacking me. But yeah, uh, where was I? Oh yeah, that's basically why we're in the situation we are now. The UN did this to us because of Vietnam. Vietnam almost bankrupted the country. It made the media companies wealthy. It made the military industrial complex and weapons industry very wealthy, and the rest of the economy basically collapsed. It basically killed the United States. So all of the problems since then, all the financial issues, all the crashes and all that stuff can be traced back to Vietnam. It's basically the people who caused Vietnam are the reason why things are the way they are, why things we have 38 trillion in debt, something like that. It's why we have all these problems. It's why our equipment's so old. It's why our infrastructure is decaying. It's basically all the modern problems are caused by the UN forcing us to commit serious military action into Vietnam. And I'm not saying we should have or should not have helped the Vietnamese people. I'm not saying either of these things. I'm just expressing the fact that Vietnam is the reason, the conflict in Vietnam. And originally they called it a policing action, so it's not even like it's a modern problem of war because it wasn't even a war at the first. In the first instance, pretty much the first 5 years, they didn't call it a war. They had SF in there doing all kinds of crazy police stuff. There, that's all that. That was really annoying. Really annoying. Um, so that's it. This is Marmot Media is coming. I'm building it right now. It's going to be a application layer first. It's really annoying, and then a process, and then I have a news platform coming out as well. I intend to resolve all of it. I have to solve all these financial problems caused me by hackers. Really annoying. Keep telling me they don't want me on the internet. They said I'm too old. There are way older people on the internet than myself, and I highly doubt you're attacking them. And by the way, it's ridiculous the reasoning that they use. It's crazy. It's like, oh yeah, Matt Morris. No. Why did I say no? We're not Trump trained. We are America first. America first is not Trump trained. We don't back anybody unequivocally because the idea that you back a leader means you're following, and America first doesn't follow. America first leads, as in we're putting America first. We want to be number one in everything. We're not following the Trump agenda. We're not MAGA. We're not MEGA. We're not make Israel great again. We're not make India great again. We're not make China greater than the United States. It's not who we are. We are America first. And yes, there is a split in the political parties. The Democrats are splitting. Half of the Democrats are America first and realizing it's crazy over there. And almost a third of the Republicans are realizing we don't want anything to do with this craziness where we're taking orders from people in a country who were propping up. We're not a vassal state. No, thank you. And that's the last thing I have to say on this one. You might see me again later today. Who knows? I might actually make a video when there's actually people on the internet. Not that there's not people at 4:27 a.m.